to try that in one of our lakes.
Yeah, I think gizzard shad, I think, are mandatory for growing really healthy fish because they're a big bite.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, looky here, got a fish. Jumped out of that little bitty piece of brush. We were talking about brush, John.
Yep.
Jumped out of that little bitty piece of brush right there and ate that spinnerbait. I'm fishing cross pines today down in Texas. We have a beautiful morning. It's about 60 degrees. Look at that fish pull. He thinks he's big. About 60 degrees. Light wind so far. Of course, we're in Texas, so we'll probably have a lot of wind. Come here, little guy. Come here, little guy. I'm fishing with John Knochel. And did I say that right? Name
yes,
right,
sir.
John?
Yes, sir.
That's a difficult name for me. Oh, that's a good way to start right there. Little red man spinnerbait fish. Jimmy's fishing a spinnerbait. Can you imagine that? John, what do you think? Good way to start, right, buddy?
That's a good looking fish.
John's throwing a topwater back here, which I don't blame him. It's a topwater morning. It's a spinnerbait morning. We may even catch some crappie. It's crappie time of the year, right? And
yes,
there's the big
sir.
ones here, too.
Yes, sir.
Looky there. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Come here, baby doll. You know, John and I were just talking about brush. And there's a little tiny brush pile back there. You see that little bitty tiny piece of brush, and I come right over the top of it, and that spinnerbait, that bass jumped out there and grabbed it. And when you find areas where there's just a little bit of brush, it's better than having a lot of brush. Now, everybody likes to look down a bank and see just logs and brush piles and everything, and they say, oh, God, what a great place. But there's so many places for a bass, you almost have to fish every little nook and cranny to catch them. When you find just an isolated piece like that is right there, and there's another one right there, just a little bitty piece, that's where they got to be because there's no other place for them to be unless they're just roaming around, which bass like to do that. Woo, that was fun. That's a good start.
Yes, sir.
I love it. That's a stout little fish right there.
Yeah, very healthy.
Oh, yeah, the fish, both the fish I've seen so far look really good in here. I'm right out of the edge of that water grass and hit that spinnerbait. Come here, baby doll. Now, I know you like that topwater, but I got more spinnerbaits, John. I have more red man spinnerbaits. This spinnerbait, John, is old-fashioned. In fact, you might not be old enough to look how pretty that fish is.
Yeah,
look at that fish. He's
kind of looks like the old Dixon spinnerbait.
Oh, he's beautiful. Well, it's Dixon, John Dixon. I know you're talking about it. Well, he was a very good friend of mine. This is an old spinnerbait. We actually won 2 BASS Angler of the Year titles on it. And it's the original red man spinnerbait. We actually took and made our molds out of the original mold. Kind of a bug eye head out here, the 2 eyes sticking out on it. But it's the way we built spinnerbaits originally with the wrap bend, not the R bend or so you can catch 200 or 300 fish on that and it's not going to break. You'll wear the skirts out and have to put new skirts. We put living rubber skirts. You see, those are not the silicone. They're not the bright, beautifully colored skirts, but they got great action. 2 different sizes of rubber in the tails. I've got an extra long hook out here that we put on it.
Yeah.
You see how far that hook comes back? Most spinnerbait hooks are up way further up here. So those strikes you get that you miss a lot of times on normal spinnerbaits, you don't miss on this one because of that long hook in it. And then here, we got a difference that some fishermen complain about. I've heard some fishermen tell me, I would never fish a spinnerbait without a ball bearing swivel. Well, when we started making these, back when I was in college, I don't even know, we probably couldn't afford ball bearing swivels, you know. So we put these cheap crane swivels on them. But what happens is that crane swivel, it takes more work on that blade, has to work harder to turn it because it doesn't have that really great smooth turn like a ball bearing swivel. And we use a number 4.5 round blade. Don't make them in tandems. Don't make them in willow leaf. It's a round blade. You got a big white that hooks further back, so you got an open area for the fish to get to the hook. And then this short wire on it causes that spinnerbait. When you pull it through the water, that wire goes back and forth like that. You can watch it. You can actually see it happen in the water. You can watch it and see it as it comes across the water. So it's got a totally different sound and vibration. See it bouncing back and forth sideways?
I do.
You can see that happening. And no other spinnerbait will you see that. A ball bearing, of course, the longer arm would dampen that, and a ball bearing swivel doesn't make the blade work hard enough. And you can feel the difference in them in any other spinnerbait. And I know it's old-fashioned, it's retro, but the one thing I know about it, unless you're an older fisherman, most people have never seen a spinnerbait built that way. And unless you're a really old bass, you've never seen them. So all the bass we're fishing for, they've never seen that type of spinnerbait. And so it's pretty cool. And they're a little less expensive than a lot of the others. They're made right here in America. And they're fish catching machines. We fish barbless hooks 100% of the time in our lake too, which I'm surprised that you got him. There you go. That's that one's brother or sister. I think that might be that one's sister that I just lost. Yeah. Get that on a worm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I got me a beaver tied on.
Oh, they're fighters.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a nice little fish right there. Those fish are really pretty and healthy.
They are healthy, aren't they?
Yeah, that's why they're so strong too. The healthier they are, the stronger they are.
Yeah, a little small mouth.
Yep, that's a young fish. Growing good, gonna be a good one. Yep.
Thank you. I won't kiss you, but
I don't know why not. Fish won't ever bite again. I ain't getting any loving. I ain't going back up there, that guy. I need a little loving. Wasn't all that pretty, but I'd kiss him anyway. I don't know if that fish's thinking that or not. I don't know what they're thinking. I just sort of make up what I think they're thinking. Oh, there's one. I slow rolled that one a little bit. I was just going to look at the bait. I slow rolled it, and that big fish got it. I've been catching them right up on top. I say big fish, it's relative. He actually felt bigger than that to be a nice, good fish, but he actually felt bigger than that. He actually felt bigger than that. I was slow rolling that spinnerbait, which is kind of hard to do in about 3 foot of water. You're not, yeah, look how healthy that fish is. Beauty. A beauty. When I say slow rolling it, I only had it down about a foot deep. I didn't have it. I just didn't have it up on top. When obviously the water's only a foot deep, so I just had it down closer to the bottom than to the top. The fish might have come up and bit it on top too if I'd had the bait up there. There's one. Again, I'm fishing that spinnerbait down a little slower. That's pretty nice feeling little fish right there too, John.
oh yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
There you go.
I love it. What a spinnerbait morning we had. It's kind of strange because I'm really using, look at that fish. I'm really using 2 techniques here. I'm using a top, fishing it right on top, kind of slow rolling it. I mean, up on top of the water, and then also, I'm slow rolling that when I get out a little bit deeper water. That's a big old male right there. It's not a female. That's a big old male. And let me tell you something. Everybody talks about catch and release and how it's made bass fishing better all over America. And it's absolutely true. And a lot of times you can't really tell, but you look at this fish right here. You see this right here? This fish has been caught within the last few days. Somebody's caught this fish within the last few days and released it. And then, so it could give me all this fun. That's a really nice, big, healthy fish. And I had the fish hooked over here, and you can't even see the mark where my hook was. That's I did. I had it over here, and I noticed that. So, and that'll heal up within just a few days. It's kind of like you cut your arm. It doesn't take long to heal up. In reality, that fish could have been caught 8 or 10 times. Probably not, but it's probably been caught maybe 4 or 5 times. You never know. But because that will heal up and be totally gone, unless it's a real bad injury that leaves a scar of some sort. But now I caught that fish slow rolling a spinnerbait. I've caught quite a few with it up on top, but that's the second one I've caught with it down underneath. So both techniques are working good. I don't know whether to keep it on top or slow roll it. How good's that one? Hey, boy, he blew up on it, didn't he? Yeah, just a little guy, but a big blow up. That was pretty.
That's fun.
Yep, that was pretty. That was pretty. I got my spinnerbait back up on top now. This is pretty nice little pads. It's a couple foot deep in here. But yeah, those early days, there was a lot of good fishermen, but there was a lot of techniques that just had not been discovered or developed, and it really, if you could be doing one of them and nobody else was, you had an advantage. It didn't matter how many people there was in the tournament, you had an advantage over them. Hey, Is that another on a worm or topwater, John?
Topwater.
All right, buddy. All right.
Oh,
Hey, come on.
quick release.
Hey, I saw him. It was 2 pounds, 14 ounces.
Yeah, that was at least an 8.
Oh, I thought you had him on a worm. You had him on a topwater. But
Yeah.
At 8. At 8.
No, I'm teasing.
I like the way you think. There's one coming after it. See him? Ah. Woo-hoo-hoo, that one blew up on it. That was a pretty strike. Yeah, that one blew up good on it. Might need to put my spinnerbait. I got in this 5-foot water and I started dragging my bait down slow. I might ought to keep it up on top, huh? That's a nice one. That was a pretty strike right there. Now he blew up on it.
That was fun. See if
Yep,
you
yep.
can knock that, spit that out, buddy, so I can.
Yeah. Now, you're gonna have to unhook him. You're gonna have to work with that one, John.
Yeah.
What John and I have got going here is 2 little separate techniques. Both baits are absolutely fantastic for the kind of conditions we have, cloud cover and a little bit of breeze blowing. Not a lot of wind. I'm sure the wind's going to pick up as the day goes on, but not a lot of wind, but just really a nice, comfortable wind to fish and break up the surface of the water, cloud cover. He's fishing topwater, I'm fishing a spinnerbait. And actually, I'm catching them down and up with a spinnerbait. I don't know which to do, really. I got in a little deeper water here and I'm slow rolling it, but I hadn't got a bite doing that. I'm gonna put it back up on top a little bit. Some of these fish might back off a little bit after a while, but that's a nice one, John.
That's fun.
Yes, it
Great
is.
fun. Never
Yeah.
gets old, guys.
Well, it might, but I don't know. I hadn't reached that point yet. I have not reached that point where it's got old. Oh, golly, that was pretty. Just a little bitty guy. Might be a bluegill. That's a bass.
Boy, that's
he
that's
come out
short,
from under that tree.
right. Short casting hand-to-hand combat
Yeah.
on that guy.
Yeah, that wasn't a very long cast. Pretty nice fish.
Yeah.
Bigger than I thought he was.
That may be a male too. Looks.
Yeah, that's a pretty fish. That's a pretty. I think it's a little girl. I don't kiss little boy bass.
Boy, these are some interesting times.
That was so pretty way he come out from there. I'm thinking 10 pounds is what I really got excited. You caught 2 10-pounders on that point. I'm thinking 10 pounds. Oh, there's one. I'm complaining about the north wind. This north wind might hurt the bite some. Boom. The fish said, we'll determine what hurts the bite, not you, Jibby. That's our game to play, not yours. We will determine when we bite and when we don't bite. Ooh, nice fish. Beauty. Come here, red man spinnerbait bass. Oh, yeah. Look how he was hooked. Will you look at that?
By a filament.
If you were in a tournament, there's no way. But, you know, look at there. He's pretty, I mean, I lifted him in. He's kind of, how can him get him unhooked? I guess if I can bend it around. Come out right there. That's one of them, if he jumped, a lot of times it might come off. That's a nice big old long fish right there. Yes! All right, Jimmy, quit predicting the weather. North wind, south wind, east wind, just put your bait in the water. Can't catch them if your bait ain't wet. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I need to retie. Yep, oh, that's a nice fish. That's a pretty strike there. Halfway back to the boat. Halfway back to the boat, dominoed on it. Dominoed on it. Glad I retied my line. Ooh, yeah. Come here, puppy dog. That's pretty. That was so pretty. I love it. All right, Jimmy. Boat flip. Yep.
That's a fish. That's
Yep.
a pretty fish.
Hey, look at all the stuff he spit out. Look at all those shad.
Oh
look
yeah,
at all those
that.
shad.
Big shad.
Look at all those shad he spit out. Threadfin shad.
Yep.
Look at them in the water. See
3
them?
of 'em right
3 or
there.
4 or 5 of them. I thought my blade fell off my spinnerbait or something. I was about to complain about my spinnerbait.
Yeah, they're pushing
Do
them
not
up.
complain about this spinnerbait. It's solid gold. Look at how fat he is. Full of those shad. Big old pretty female bass. Does not look like she spawned. I have not seen any fry, which is pretty surprising. Big old pretty fish. Oh, here comes another one. It's a double. It's a double. Is yours bigger than mine? Oh, good. I'll hold them and compare them. No, I won't.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at
Turn
this.
mine back.
Look at this.
Good gosh. Look at the size of that
Big
bluegill.
old perch.
Oh my gosh. Look at the size of that thing. Holy moly. That produces a lot of food for the fish right there, that big old girl. God, that's big enough to mount.
I'll have to weigh that guy.
Yeah, my gosh, that's a pretty bluegill. It weighs over a pound. Yeah, that is gorgeous. My goodness. That is a pretty fish. God. I never heard of anybody weighing a bluegill on a boga grip. That's what we used to weigh 40-pound fish.
1-4.
1 pound, 4 ounces. Isn't that cool?
So we've caught a couple 2-pounders.
Really? That is beautiful. Wow. Wow. That thing was pulling like crazy too.
It was acting,
If those
acting
things
like a
got to be
bass.
5, 6, 7 pounds, we'd quit bass fishing. And they do. And I mean, at Lake Havasu, they catch the world record. They catch them out there that weigh 5, 6 pounds.
Caught it on a 10-inch worm.
Yeah. Called that shot, didn't I? What a pretty strike. Oh my goodness. Woohoo!
Oh!
Woohoo! Tail dancer. That grass right there, you see that grass? It's got 1.5 foot and 2 foot of water under it. It's absolutely perfect. It'd be good water to go in there and flip with a plastic worm. Oh, it's a nice fish. Yeah, be perfect water to go in there and flip. And I was just fishing right on the edge of it, and he come out there and ate that thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, little girl. You were very much fun. Finally got solid enough that stopped them fish from jumping up and biting that spinnerbait. Maybe not. All I need to do is complain. God says, will you quit complaining, Jimmy? Oh, you fish 30 minutes without a bite and you start complaining. What are you doing? Oh, come here, baby. Come here, baby. What are you doing complaining? Woo. Right in the side of the mouth. Perfect. Nice, pretty bass right there. Oh, yeah. Sugar booger. I'd run that bait right on top of the water, and the fish are not right up against the bank. I got 4 foot of water under the boat. That fish hit halfway back to the boat, but he could have actually been laying on the bottom. You know, a lot of times with the live scope, people are trying to run their bait right by in front of the fish or get right down on his nose. And that's really not the thing you want to do. It's one of the reasons that buzzing the spinnerbait up on top of the water like that, where you got it right up on top and you see it coming in all the way, you see the strikes. That's a real exciting way to fish, obviously, to see that bass come out of nowhere and grab that bait. And you know, I don't know if it's more exciting to run it by a log or a bush and they come right out of the heart of it like you think they're going to, or just be right out in wide open water like that right there, and then all of a sudden it almost comes out of nowhere, just no brush or logs or stump or anything around, no edge of the boat dock, just wide open water. But one of the reasons they do that is those fish are out feeding, moving around, and they're suspended, and they may not be, if you got good watercolor like we've got in this lake right here, you got good watercolor, the fish will just jump out of nowhere and grab that bait. It's a tiny one here. This is the smallest one we caught all day. We caught a crappie that would eat this bass. The smallest one of the day right there. No one will probably see that one. My guys would not put a fish that small on TV that Jimmy caught. Surely not. Nobody will see that fish, but me and you, John. That's it.